I am here with Raina Greenberg. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
After I had Ashley on, the amount of people that were like, now you need to get Raina on. I'm like, no, like I'm working on it. It's coming, guys.
Ashley was like, oh my God, I loved her so much. We are like the same person. We have so much in common. She like spoke so highly of you. And so everybody that she likes, I generally like.
Yeah, it's like, you guys,
like each other.
You're in a couple, so.
Yes, we are. We're a platonic couple. We sleep with other people.
Speaking of couples, like what is your relationship status right now? Because obviously podcast Girls Gotta Eat, you like document everything, but I have trouble keeping up. I'm like, where's everyone like relationship status at?
So I am single right now. I had a relationship for about a year last year, and I dated a couple people over the winter and the spring, and I got a breast reduction in January last year.
We need to talk all about it.
I will tell you all about it. And it kind of like fucked up one of my nipples, and then I had scars on my breast, and I still had like really big boobs, like huge boobs. I woke up with enormous boobs, and I had to get it redone. And it really made me feel a lot of negative things about my body. It made me feel really insecure. And so I felt like everybody had this like slutty summer, and I had this like, I don't feel good about my body summer, and it really affects how you like show up in the world.
100%. I totally could relate to that with just like when you're not feeling your best, you go about life differently. Like your energy is different. My therapist always says, she's like, it's not like any like a woman's size or a woman's looks. It's like the energy that you put out. Like you can go to a bar and be the most beautiful girl, but be so closed off and no one's going to approach you. Or you could be like decent and have the world's best energy, and you're gonna attract people like a magnet.
Yes.
So I get that.
I've always said, like, I was never the prettiest girl in the room my whole life. I mean, I'm fine. I look fine. I'm fine.
You're pretty.
But I was never like the prettiest girl in the room, and it never stopped me from like walking up to the hottest guy in the room, fucking that guy, dating that guy. Everybody I've ever dated has
you had
been
the
like
confidence.
A smoke. But this summer I just like wasn't feeling it. I was like feeling insecure about my body, and it didn't matter how much I like worked out, and I knew I was doing a good job and killing it in life and all these things.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good when I took my clothes off. So it fucked with me a little bit, but I got a second breast reduction 4 weeks ago, and I'm like feeling so much better. It like fixed everything that I was like worried about, and I'm feeling just like so much more confident. And so I've been like dating again.
Good. Did you like, I assume you probably did a lot of like research into like your doctor and stuff before you got it done.
I did, and I got a lot of recommendations for this particular person.
Yeah.
A bunch of girls. Like I put on my Instagram stories, anybody know a great breast reduction doctor? I had multiple women tell me this man changed their lives. He's really reputable. He's an Upper East Side like Jewish surgeon.
That scares me because you think you're getting like Ferrari titties.
Well, even the nurses were like, he does everybody. He does all the celebrities. And like, he just said to me, like, I had to, like, keep pushing because he kept saying to me, like, but they are much smaller, but they are much smaller. And I kept saying to him, like, this is not subjective. It's not like I woke up with a nose job and said, I don't like this nose job. I'm telling you, I asked for a size. I'm nowhere near that size, and you're going to need to do this again.
Yeah, like, I could physically put on a bra and see I'm not that size.
I said to him, I put on double D bras. I fit into them. This is not what I paid you for. And I, like, really empower women to, like, keep pushing and don't let somebody just because they think they know better tell you that you are stupid, you are wrong, because I felt really invalidated every time I would go and be like, but I know these aren't supposed to look like this.
100%. I want a breast reduction because huge boobs.
Yeah.
Like I want a breast reduction so badly, but I feel like there's so many misconceptions, or not even misconceptions, but just things like people tell you, like you should do this first, or you should have kids first, or you should XYZ. Mm-hmm. So I'm always like, I'll get it after kids. And then actually last year for the first time, I was like, fuck that. Why am I waiting around? And I was really considering it. I kind of put it on the back burner, but like maybe we should throw it back on the table because why not? I have such a short torso that my boobs are 90% of my body.
You have big boobs. And I still, even though what I went through, I still highly recommend it. I'm still really happy with it.
Yeah.
The scarring is really minimal. I do just feel like sexier in clothing. I feel like I'm not constantly thinking about, I'm not that girl with the huge titties, which like good for you if you are.
Yeah.
I was done with it. I've been like that
I'm that
since
girl
I was 12. You know, like I didn't want to be. I mean, I still have big boobs, but I was done with the look, and I still would recommend it. The recovery was easy, and he did redo it, and I didn't pay for it. So
good.
I still recommend it. I still had like a positive experience, even though it was kind of a negative experience.
I get what you're saying. Like the final results.
Yes.
Now you feel good about, but given what you went through, it was probably hell at the time.
Yes.
I like that you could be open though about not wanting to date when you don't feel yourself, because I feel like that's been like my life. And also I'm like, I'm focusing on my career. And then I'm like, am I? Like, what's holding me back? And I feel like it's just all of these like external things. And I think sometimes it's just like an internal thing that you really have to work on to just like be happy and like exude that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying in my intro before, I'm like, I was like, the other day I like put on foundation and I was like, yeah. And then like 3 people hit on me like on the street. And I'm like, oh, nothing changed other than the fact that like I'm feeling good.
Yes.
And people notice.
Yes. And some of the girls that I know that I like think are the sexiest in the world and have so much confidence aren't the most beautiful girls objectively that you would see, but they're so confident in themselves and they just like themselves. They love their bodies. And I mean, that is the sexiest thing in the world to me.
I 100% agree. Like I was just in Italy this summer and there was like, you know, we're in the Amalfi Coast and there's like cliffs and like people are jumping off of it. And there was all these like really like thin girls just like climbing up the rocks and like jumping off. And I felt like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I don't want everyone staring at me while I scale this mountain and like plunge into the water. Like, I was like, hell no. Like, hell fucking no. What if I don't have the upper body strength to get up there? No, because it was like actual climbing. And this girl that we were with was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, wow, like that's confidence. Like, she just didn't care. She was like, so carefree. And she was like, that looks so fun. I'm going to go jump off that mountain. And I'm like, I wish my head wasn't in the way of me jumping off this cliff in Italy.
Well, I always say on our show, Ashley and I always say, like, no one cares about you. No one is thinking about you as much as you are. No one is, like, thinking, like, she looks fat. She looks like a loser. No one fucking cares. And if they do, that person is a loser. And, like, I have traveled a lot by myself in my life. And I've gone all over the world. I've gone to Southeast Asia, South America, Europe, all by myself. And people always say, like, what does it feel like to, like, be by yourself in like a museum or a dinner? I'm like, I don't fucking care. I think it's sexy. I think it's really confident that somebody can like say to themselves, like, this seems a little scary, and like jump off that cliff, you know? And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
100%. I even years ago, like now living in New York, living on my own, I do so much by myself that 10 years ago, I would have never done. Like, I'm not taking myself out to dinner alone because honestly, I'd rather just like eat in my bed and like watch something if I'm going to do that.
It's odd in the city that you live in. You can do it, but it's less normal.
But my point is, like, if I'm in a different city, I don't care. You get used to it. Like you said, the more you do it, it's cool. Like my friend the other night was on a business trip actually in LA, and she asked someone like, what's a good bar for like single people to go sit at the bar at? And they told her, and she went to the bar, and she wound up talking to this guy all night.
Of course.
And she was like, yeah, like it just came so natural because I was kind of like seeking it too. Like I went into it with the mindset of I'm going to strike up conversation with a stranger. And she did. And like they closed down the bar.
That's so exciting. And I love this story. And I mean, obviously a woman at a bar by herself is an advertisement for please come speak to me. Like, and if you're in your own city and you're like, I haven't met anybody in a while, I'm not trying to do the apps, go sit at a bar by yourself. And I love that. I think it's so confident. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you're probably in your head like, people are looking at me, bring a fucking magazine, scroll Instagram. Who cares?
But okay, so let me ask you this, because this is what I always think. If you're going to go sit at a bar by yourself, you know how people say like, don't be on your phone, you want to like look approachable. What do you do? Because then I'm like sitting, like everything pushed aside, like pursing my lips, and then I'm like, now I look even creepier. Like I don't know what to do to look approachable.
Balance it. It's fucking weird if you're just looking around the bar the whole time. You can look at your phone a little bit. All you should do is make eye contact with a guy and just hold the stare for 3 seconds. Just eye fuck somebody for a prolonged period of time. Look at a person and say, what's good here? What do you like to order? I don't know. Say to the bartender, I'm here single, and if you see anybody else that's single, tell them to come over to my way. Like a woman by themselves is such an advertisement. It's so sexy to me.
Well, that's what I'm going to try to challenge myself to do in LA a little more. Like just like be an independent woman and like just go do stuff. And who knows? I think it's kind of pretty independent that I'm even moving on my own to begin with.
It's amazing.
Everyone's like, who do you know there? And I'm like, I don't know, like people through social media. Like I have friends of friends. I actually think I'll probably have plans every night if I wanted to, but no one's like a best friend. Technically, yes, I'm like very much doing this alone.
Well, I think it's really confident. And of course, money is prohibitive. Not everybody can like get up and go live somewhere, but you can always go back. You know, I think about like taking the leap to do stuff and like leaving a job, leaving a relationship, leaving a city. Like you can always change your mind about something, and there's no weakness in saying like, okay, well, I tried something for 3 months and I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And you don't have to like commit to it because you think other people are going to think you're like weak or pathetic or that was fucking stupid. Like if I don't like something, if it's not making me money or bringing me happiness, I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to be like, I got to do it for a year to prove to other people, blah, blah, blah. Like,
oh, 100%.
So you'll go, you'll see how it happens. If you hate it, you'll come back.
But don't you just feel like that also comes with age so much? Like the older I get, I keep making this joke that like I understand why old people are like just grouchy all the time, because as I get older, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Like you really just start getting very like, whatever, I don't care. This makes me happy. You get kind of more selfish, and you get just kind of more like with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. It just happens.
Yeah, I guess life beats you down a little bit. But you also just learn that like nobody cares about you. You can just like go do whatever, and you're not going to care about what other people think. I think that as we get older, we become nicer people. I think that we weed toxicity out of our lives. I think we have less tolerance for it. I think that like the type of relationships I had tolerance for from friends and romantic partners in my early 20s, I would never allow in my space ever. But like it's hard when you're young to even like identify those things and draw the boundary. And as you get older, like you're just boundaries all day. You know?
What do you like being a woman who's single, who's successful? Do you feel like that's intimidating to guys? Because I think a lot of successful women love to play that narrative too, a little bit, where they're like, I'm just intimidating. That's why I'm single. And I try not to do that to myself, because I'm like, I hated when I was younger and I heard other people say it. So like I don't always want to paint that narrative for myself. But at the same time, I do think it adds like a layer of complexity.
It does, but you know, I think about this a lot because people ask us a lot. Ashley and I, the women that email us and say, you know, does my money or my success intimidate men? Ashley and I, of course, have to think about that kind of stuff. The first thing I think is like, what's the alternative? Should I be less? Should I be less? Should I make less money? Should I be less successful? Should I shrink myself to fit into somebody else's box and make myself more available to men that aren't quote unquote intimidated by me? No, I'm not going to do that. So like the alternative is not an option. So I think if you feel like people are so intimidated by me, you can do a couple things. You can say to yourself, okay, let me self-evaluate. How do I speak about my success? Am I telling everybody how much money I make all the time? Am I telling everybody how successful I am? Or am I allowing people to see that through my actions, through my words, things like that? So sometimes it is about how you speak about yourself. If a woman said to me, like, everyone's so intimidated by me, I'd be like, well, are you being kind of an asshole?
Exactly. I'd be like, all right, relax. Like,
and you do have to unfortunately shift to your dating. You know, I have dated people that have said, somebody said to me on a date recently, you're like an intimidating woman. And it like kind of was like a punch in the gut. But the last 3 guys I've dated have all said that to me, and they sort of meant it in a different way. And I think the last 2 meant like, I feel emasculated by you. I think this guy meant, I think it's sexy. I think it's really impressive. I think it's exciting because he's an impressive person. And so you have to kind of change who you're dating, you know? I don't necessarily think love conquers all. And if you're this like big badass boss bitch woman, like you do kind of have to date at your level, or at least somebody who's just going to be comfortable that maybe you are a level above them. A lot of different things can work, and I've had happiness with very different people. But if you're finding that your problem is that men are intimidated by you, date different men. You know?
I know, because I feel like at the very least, it's like you just need a confident person, because you just need them to be secure in their own skin, that they're like, all right, like my girl rocks. You want them to be proud. I actually, so funny because he was my high school boyfriend, which like you don't expect your high school boyfriend to be like so mature necessarily, but he always said, which I thought was cool. I was like, you know, young, and I'd be like, why don't you get jealous when people hit on me in front of you? Because like I wanted a rise out of him, and he would be like, because I have you. Like, I'm not jealous because I'm the one holding your hand. And like now in hindsight, like that's such a confident perspective to have. Whereas like an insecure guy would go punch the guy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like now as an adult, you appreciate things like that. It's like, oh, you're really secure. Like, you're comfortable in your skin. And I think it's not a matter of like being too strong of a woman or too successful. It's about like finding a partner that like, I'm never going to change myself for someone. So you just need to find someone that loves you like at where you're at.
Yeah. What am I going to do? Quick Girls Gotta Eat. I'm not going to tour because it intimidates you. Like, I want somebody to look at me on stage and be like, that's my fucking girl. Like, exactly. I'm so proud of her. Her show's so funny. She's so funny. Like, I just want somebody that's so proud of me. And if I never find that, if I can never ever find that person, well, then the alternative is also like build a life you're excited about. Have friends, have a good relationship with your family if you can and you want to. Find hobbies, find interests. Like, I don't have a romantic partner, but my life is really fulfilled and I feel excited about that. And I work out a lot. I read. I love my business. Ashley and I opened a second business. I don't know what we were thinking, but we're busy all the time. I have great friends. I like have really strong relationships with my parents, and I'm proud of that. And if I never find a romantic partner again, I mean, not that I think that'll happen, but if I never check the box, I'll still know that I lived a fulfilling life. And that's great too.
I think it's really cool because, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I know you guys have been doing this for a while, but you basically started the podcast not having a social following, and then all the success came from the podcast?
No, we both had social followings.
Okay.
So we met because she had a huge meme account called Rose Bean Basic, and I had a huge food and travel account with hundreds of thousands of followers.
Okay, so you both had successful social account.
Yes.
Because I was going to say, I'm like, you both have like very substantial like followings, and it's really impressive in the podcast space, especially to just kind of like, even coming though from like meme accounts and stuff to creating this big brand where maybe your initial account wasn't based off of like you as a person. It was based on other things.
Yes.
It's really impressive that you guys have been able to like cultivate this like cult following.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been 4.5 years. I met her exactly 5 years ago. It's funny because we started the podcast. We didn't really know each other that well.
That's crazy.
We tested each other's boundaries. And it was like, can I trust you? Are you a person that has a lot of friends? Are you close to your family? Do you seem like a solid person? I don't think I ever thought, can I run this business with you, open a bank account with you, travel the world with you, open a second business with you? But it's worked out really well. And it's been really fun because most of the stories we tell each other, the other person doesn't know those stories.
Yeah, like you're kind of just like living your lives and then you sit down to record and you're like, this is what I did this weekend.
And I'm like so proud of it. Like, we didn't really put ourselves in a box. We were like, this is going to be dating, sex, relationships, anything that applies to women. So like, we have had porn stars to politicians. Like, we'll do anything. I was looking at our episodes, what does really well this morning, and like there was an episode about period health and what happens to you emotionally during your period. That crushed. Like, we've done sexual assault. We have done how to give the best blowjob. And like, our audience is so dynamic, so they allow us to talk about all that stuff, and we catch up on our lives every week. And you know, it's a learning process. And Ashley and I have like read the books of all of our guests, and I feel like we've like given ourselves a psychology degree essentially throughout this. It's been really fun.
Really, like, you guys really have like dialed it in and like found like a niche space to be just like kind of like what I was saying to you before off air, like relatable girls that like talk about real life shit, which is like what I think everyone kind of strives to be when you're in this space. I would hope to be like relatable and approachable, and like we're just like living our lives, and you're sharing it with the world, and like through your ups and downs with surgery, with breakups, with this and that, like you're just kind of putting it all out there.
Yeah, I never claimed to be like some psychological expert. I didn't claim to be a self-help guru. I was just a girl who's dated a lot, who's had a lot of experience, who's looking to feel normal, and I was fine to put my experiences out in the world, and it resonated with people, and it feels so good. It's therapeutic to me. Like, so many people say like, you changed my life. Like, our audience changed my life. Like, it's so therapeutic to me. Like, I had never really talked about my relationship with my mother so much on the podcast, and I finally did it last week. And
I listened to that one.
Oh, thank you for listening to that. Well, I don't want to be too repetitive for you, but it just wasn't the best relationship in the world. We have a relationship. We're talking about it on the way over here. It's fine. It's getting better, but I never talked about it a lot. And I tried to have like a really kind, open, honest discussion about that. And the messages I got from women saying like, I feel seen for the first time in my life. And nobody's ever described a relationship with their mother that I have. And I've never heard anybody explain it that way. And thank you so much. And I'm still getting DMs like weeks later about this. And it means so much to me to feel like I am normal and I have a similar experience to other people. Yeah. And it's like it bonds you to others.
I feel that way too, because it's like you're sharing about your life experience, and then you're hearing validation from other people that that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I just thought I was like telling something that's like this deep, dark secret. You're like, oh, we're all experiencing this. I totally could relate to that. And I also could relate, like, I'm so close with my mom, and I always joke that like every mom somehow fucks up their daughters.
Yeah.
Whether they tried to or not. Like, it just happens.
I
Even
know.
if you're the best mom in the world. Like, it just happens. And like, it is kind of hard to talk about, and it's vulnerable because like you have probably family listening and people, and it's really hard to like be so public about stuff like that. So like, I commend you, because sometimes I have a hard time like straddling that line. I feel like I keep things kind of like more PG because I do come from this like Italian family that's like, it's like, I don't care to be an open book, but I know they care. So it's hard. It puts you in a weird position.
Of course. And I knew she would listen to that episode.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't ever put anybody on blast. And people always say, like, is it hard to date with the podcast? And Ashley and I are like, I don't know. We don't really, there's no identifying details.
Yeah.
I don't give any explanations about somebody to the point that you'd be able to know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew she would listen, and I wanted – my mom's a really good person. She was
Yeah.
a really good mom. So, I mean, she's still alive. She's still like a good mom. But I wanted to speak about her in a way that she felt she had some agency in the conversation.
Yeah.
And breakups too, like I had a breakup last year, and like in the middle of the breakup, it was like funny. Like I was crying with this beautiful moment. And I was like, so we're going to have to talk about this on the podcast on that day. And normally I'm not that open, but we were going on tour, and we had all these shows like literally the next week. And
people are going to ask. People are going to know. You need to talk about it.
I need to talk about it, but I can't do all this material anymore about you as though we're still together. And so I was like, this is what I'm going to say. This is how I'm going to say it. Like, it's a crazy way to break up with somebody, to be like, I'm also going to talk about this to hundreds of thousands of people.
But they're also kind of signing up for it in a sense. They know that it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I just noticed like it's such a red flag when you start dating someone and they're like, are you going to mention me on the pod? I'm like, see ya.
I feel like you probably have been doing this long enough that you can sort of like weed through the bullshit. Like, I feel like most of the people I date like get a kick out of it. They think it's funny.
No, but I don't like when they ask.
I don't either. It's a little cringy.
I'm just like, that just shows me you maybe have weird intentions.
Yeah, and I don't know what they could be. Like, I'm like a pretty smart girl, so are you. Like, no one's going to use me for anything, but it feels a little cringy when somebody asks.
It's more just like I've encountered of people that like to be with someone that, oh, look, she has followers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like a weird ego thing for them. And it's like, I'd rather you almost not even have social media. Like, I don't, well, because for me, I don't need to date someone that's in the same industry as me personally. Like, I'm actually really attracted to opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't care if you have no idea what I do, just support me and I'll support you.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to do the same thing. I don't need you like having a hand in my business.
If you could like build a man, what does he do for a living?
I think,
what does his life look like?
I think I really want someone with flexibility because I really want to travel with someone.
Okay.
And like with or without kids, before we have them, after we have them, whatever. I would like love, I've been on this like TikTok kick where I followed these couples that just travel the world like for a year.
Yeah.
And I was telling my friends, it's like really changed my perspective on life. I'm like, let's just sell our shit and go travel the world.
Fun.
Like, I would think that would be so cool. Or even just someone that like, if they work remote too, say they work in tech or whatever it is, sales, I don't care. If they're like, let's go to Bali for a month. Cool. Like, I just want someone that's like open and like ready to like open to like mental health and therapy and accepting and also just like driven, just like a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that. I'm like, I just want a good person.
But you want like a doer. You want somebody who's like adventurous that like would want to go to Bali for a month.
Yeah.
That's not everybody.
Or someone that maybe hasn't had those experiences because I don't expect everyone to live the same life as me, but they're open to doing them with me.
That's all you can ask for. I almost don't love when I'm like jerking somebody, like I'm jerking off with another person. Like, I've been here. Have you been here? I've been here. Have you? I kind of don't like it. I think it's like yucky.
It's so tit for tat, right? It's like, oh yeah, Aspen. I've been to Aspen.
I've done that. Like, it's kind of nice to have somebody be like, that's exciting for me. It's not like my first notion to do those things. I would love to do it with you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big into food. It's like the most important thing to me is to
so you want to like travel with someone and try things.
And I don't need them to say to me like, I understand Burmese food or some shit, but I want them to be like, that sounds fucking dope. Let's do it.
That's how I feel. Like, okay, if you're passionate about that, like, I'll do it. And then if like I'm not the most adventurous person. Like, I'm not out here skydiving, but if you are, then like, okay, teach me how to snowboard. Like, I don't know, like try different things. We don't have to be on the same page, but I just want someone that's has a openness to trying things. I think that's all you could ask for.
I don't want to do anything outdoors. I don't want to snowboard or ski.
I mean, I prefer not to. But...
I don't want to bike. Like, I need to have a similar lifestyle to you. Like, if somebody's like, you know what I want to do every weekend is like, I want to be camping. Like, I'm not your girl.
No, I'm not a camp girl.
No.
Or a horse girl.
You're a city girl.
Yeah. Like, no. That I know very much. Like, I'm not living on a farm, but if you like want to go skiing, I'll take a class like with an instructor.
Sure,
I'll figure it out.
Do one.
Yeah, because I want to go to the bougie place.
Yes. I don't want to hold my partner back. Like I would hate for somebody I really love to be like, well, you won't do anything with me. You know what I mean? Like I want to have similar hobbies, but like if we have very separate lifestyles, like I don't know, like 2 boyfriends ago, he just wants to live in the country. He just wants to like sell his things, live on a boat with his dogs. That's his thing. He like was moving kind of recently. He called me and he was just like, is there any world in which like we end up together and you want to like, and I was like, I don't know what you want me to say.
It's like, do you want to like fast-paced life? Because I don't think I want the same thing.
Yeah, he's not a city person. It's like not how he wants to live. And I always say like one of my favorite things to ask on every single first date, I always ask it is if you could go anywhere right now, regardless of like money and weather, where would you travel and how would you travel? So I want to know like, are you an all-inclusive resort in Cancun kind of person, or do you want to like rough it a little bit? Like, are we going to like Bangkok and going to like food markets every day? And do you want to fly first class, economy? Do you want to stay in a hostel? Do you want to stay in a nice hotel? Like, I want to know how you travel and what's important to you. And I can tell everything about a person from that question.
100%. And there's like the kind of person that has a timeshare in Aruba, and then the kind of person that's like backpacking through Europe. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there are
really
levels
different
to things.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you don't have to have had the same experience, but I want to at least want to do things together.
Yes.
Like, I just think that's really important. And like, okay, so what is your perfect guy? Job, everything.
I need somebody who's a little more transient in terms of traveling. Like they don't need to be like nailed down to one place always. They can kind of get up and go a little bit. I need somebody who's going to give me a little grace in terms of like, I work a lot. And when Ashley and I are on tour, you don't even hear from me that much. Like my family's like, are you good? Like I need somebody who's going to give me a little grace that like I will show up and be fully present. I love chatting. I love texting. I love calling. I love sex. I'll fuck your brains out. But I just want somebody to know that like they have to back off a little bit when I'm working. So somebody who has a lot of their own stuff going on. Yeah,
and it's like I'm loyal, but I'm just not going to be there all the time. So you have to be secure in like the fact that I might not answer right away.
Yes. And this was being a doer is like a big thing for me. I want somebody who like always likes activities. I had an ex of mine. We just always had like tickets to like a sporting event, a concert, a food festival. He knew like the museum exhibits that were going on. I thought that was so sexy. And something that is I think I was missing a lot in my last relationship that really I value a lot is I want somebody that I feel like has like got it. Like if I don't want to do everything for you. I don't want it to be like she's better than me at this thing, so she can do all of it. Like I want to feel like you can plan a trip. Like you can take care of things. And I've really dated some people that I feel like I had to like mother a little bit. And I think like a grown-ass adult man is like sexy. And so those things are important to me. Sex is really, really important to me.
You have to have great chemistry with someone. Like, I mean, I agree because my like 2 love languages are physical touch and quality time. So like it kind of is hard with the whole quality time thing when you do have such like a go schedule, but that doesn't mean I need to see you every single day. It's like when I do see you though, I want to be like in an uninterrupted time.
Yes.
Like even if we're just hanging out in bed talking, like that counts.
Yes.
Like just spending time together. I think that that's just like the most important. Before we get to Ask Alyssa, I do want to ask you about self-care.
Okay.
Because you say you like to work out. I feel like I'm sure by interviewing people, you've heard all of the things. You've done all of the things. You've tried them if you're anything like me.
Sure.
What does self-care look like to you? Just like even on a small scale.
just so that Ashley and I have the podcast, and we're almost always on tour except for this fall, and we launched a second business. So we are busy constantly. So in order for me to like just feel mentally like I'm ready for the day, I have like the same routine every morning almost. So I wake up pretty early. I wake up around like 7:30. I have a cup of coffee. I make my list for the day. I answer all of our emails. She stays up super late. I get up really early. So we sort of like go in shifts almost. So I read all of our emails. I get back to whatever we need to do. I give like our assistant some stuff to do, and I talk to our agent or whoever like that we work with, and then I like to like once I feel like that's taken care of, I get on the bike and I like do just like a 30-minute Peloton ride, and then I feel, and I never thought of myself as like a regimented person, but like then I feel like I've like set myself up for success for the day.
Sounds like it.
And then she's usually waking up by the time I'm done with the bike, and so she's like, okay, I want to do this thing this way, let's make our plans, do da-da-da, and I feel like at least my head is clear for the day. So having a morning schedule is like really, really important for me.
I think that sounds amazing.
And I never worked out in my life until I was like in my mid-30s, never for 1 minute ever until COVID started. So
okay, that's hopeful for the rest of us.
Yeah, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm killing it. I love exercise. I fucking hate exercise. I don't want to do it. I've never done it in my life. But as I've gotten older and during COVID, I felt really anxious during COVID. Like I didn't know where to put all that anxiety. And I was like, I'll get a bike like everybody else on earth.
I was that girl that was on like the 5-mile walks like everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was walking so much during COVID.
Yeah. All I did, I had nothing else to do.
My like biggest like anxiety thing that I do is I take a bath. I don't know why, something about being in water. Like if I'm feeling like cold, tired, sad, I'm like, I'm just gonna take a bath. It solves everything. I don't even know what it solves, but it's just one of those things to me that's like me time, kind of. But
I love a bath.
I'm not a routines person.
I'm more of a to-do list person than a routines person. I'll make the same list every fucking day. I just want to like be able to look at a piece of paper that says like, this is what we have going on. Yeah. And like I also work with I have a business partner, and so I want her to feel like we've got each other's backs. Yeah. And I am really lucky to work with her because we both like would never want to let the other person down. So as long as I have my list, I know what's going on, then I can like function in the world. And I sleep 8 hours a night always. Like I will forfeit pretty much any level of fun to go home and sleep for 8 hours.
No, same. Like I need my sleep. I'm a diva with that.
Yes, I need it. And it makes you just feel so much better. I've cut back on drinking a lot just because it hasn't been making me feel that good lately. But I drink. And then just even when I'm at like even when I don't want to see people, if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm like bummed, I'm in like a bad mood, seeing my friends really does just like give me like a jolt of like self-care, because I like feeling included in like a community of people and loved, and I like talking to my friends about what's going on with them. So I always say I like to have like one social interaction per day outside of work, whatever that is.
Sometimes I could be better about that.
Yeah, we all could.
I like self-isolate if I'm feeling anxious, which isn't great because then it's just like the cycle. It's almost better to just see someone and then you're like, oh, I feel so much better. Like, you know, going out to dinner with friends and like, wow, feels like a weight's been lifted.
But it's nice to enjoy your own company, and it's nice to be home by yourself and to be like, I don't need to do everything all the time. Like, I love being alone. I think it's really nice. I quarantined during COVID in New York City. I lived alone. Like, I saw people, but it was – I don't know that everybody could do it. Yeah. And I'm okay in my own thoughts.
Well, I always say that about just like being single in general. I'm like, I know who I am because I spend time alone and because I work on myself. And like also talking about being with a partner, like I want someone else that knows what it's like to work on themselves, because had I been in a long-term relationship for all of these years or stayed with my college sweetheart, whatever, I don't think I would have ever done so much self-work.
I mean, some people can, and you know, that's great, but it's like so good that you look at it like that and you're like, look at all the things I gained.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I look at everybody, I always think like, you know, my brother, for example, he's been with his wife since he's 22. So, 11 years. And I think like I'm the opposite. I've been single more than he's always been in a relationship, and like, which is easier, because it's nice to check the box and be like, I don't need to work on the relationship part of my life. I don't need to look for romantic love. I can work on work and hobbies and friends, and that's great, because I feel like looking for romantic love can be all consuming. But on the flip side of things, like I got to have all these experiences and I got to like really grow and learn what I really fucking hate, what I love, and meet all these people, and I think that like both things are good, but like you have to make the best out of like whatever it is. And like
I totally agree. And I think it also kind of saves me from like potential like divorce, because I'm like, I'm gonna like, also like if I get divorced, whatever. But I'm just saying like, because I really know who I am. When I enter into a relationship later in life, I feel like you are like a fully formed like whole person, you would hope. I mean, I don't know. I'm still pretty broken, but
you seem fine. I mean, I think the goal is that you meet somebody at that young age, you grow up together and you grow in the same direction like my brother and his wife did. And that's great. But like, I think about the person that I was engaged to in my 20s and I'm just like, oh my God, you were like so wrong for me.
Yeah. And you didn't even know it then.
No. Oh my God, I'm so glad we didn't end up together.
No, it's a blessing in disguise. Okay. Let's get into Ask Alyssa and then we got to wrap up. Some people just wrote me in questions, so we'll give them some advice.
Okay.
This person said, Ask Alyssa, I know you've talked about this before, but I need advice with a quarter life crisis. Social life, work life, not meeting personal goals. I hate my job. I feel like everyone around me is thriving in these aspects, and I'm so stagnant. Any advice on how to get through this?
I think that like, what do they say? Is it comparison is the enemy of joy? Thief of joy. I think it's easy to look at everybody and say like everyone's killing it besides me, and it's just not true. Some people are better at telling a better story than you are. Some people do not allow you to see inside the cracks of their romantic relationship. And I think that at 25, you don't even realize that. Like, you don't even realize how many people by 30 will not be killing it and will be out of those relationships. But just because other people will fail at things doesn't mean that you're going to feel better.
It's true.
It's easy to just look on social media and be like, everybody else is doing so much better than me. And I just think to like give yourself grace. Like, I look at what I was doing at 25, like, when I was 24, I was like managing this restaurant. I had this boyfriend. I was living with him. I thought it was great. I caught him cheating on me. I was living with him. I caught him cheating on me. I went to work. I started drinking at work. I got fired from my job for drinking. I lost my boyfriend and my job in 1 week, the week before Thanksgiving. I had to go home and tell my family, like, you can lose everything at like a young age and you can rebuild. You can feel like you're at a young age and I don't have a lot, and you can also just keep building on it. I've had so many careers since I was 25.
Oh my God, a million.
I had so many relationships, but I know it's easier said than done, but I think you just have to give yourself grace and know that like just because everybody else around you seems like they're doing great does not mean that they are. And also just because you feel a little anxious and listless does not mean you're always going to feel like that. And I say it all the time, like hobbies are so important, and finding things outside of work to do. It's like work does not have to be your life. You can just like work to live, you know?
100%. And also I think people might be looking at you thinking, wow, she's really got it together. It's just perception. Like, you are looking at these people. Like you said, there might be cracks in their relationships. There might be things going on at home. There might be a sick family member. You literally never know. So you really can't compare yourself to other people. I think that was like really great advice. And give yourself time, because everything works itself out in due time. Like, when I was 20, I remember turning 25 and being like, I'm so old. And now I'm like, that young spring chicken thought she was old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much more life, and it's so much easier said than done. But I think just be patient with yourself, and like, everything's going to fall into place. If you don't like your job, leave it. Jobs come and go. I know that sounds like easier said than done, but I hate when people just say stagnant because they are comfortable. Like, start interviewing, get out there. Maybe starting a new job introduces you to a new set of friends, a new love interest. You never know. Like, things aren't going to change if you don't. That's like a Pinterest quote.
That's really funny. I think that it's hard to see outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And not everybody can just like go get a new job, you know, but you can start at least thinking like, what would excite me and what do I have to do to get there? So like think about the job that you want and look up online what the job role is and say to yourself, like, can I fulfill this role? Am I capable of doing these things? And if not, learn those skills.
What skills could I do? I always say that. I'm like, pick up like an internship or something, or just ask a company like, hey, do you mind? Could I pick up a few hours a week? If you really like need a new skill set in order to like pivot careers or whatever it may be, like you just need to, I agree. Like, it's not so easy to just get a new job, but my point is like, you could at least apply. Sometimes people complain and then I see them not even trying to make any moves.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just try. And like, it's all gonna just put your best foot forward and something's bound to click. Okay, next one. This one's a little long, but I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
This person said, ask Alyssa, hey girl, I really need your level-headed perspective on my situation. I've been dating a guy for about 6/7 months, and we just made it official this past weekend. Things have been going great, but one thing we have really been working on is trust. I have a lot of trauma from a past relationship of being lied and cheated on, which I'm aware of. Because of my last relationship, the number one deal breaker for me is lying. I told myself that this is a boundary I have that I am not willing to waver on. So anyway, fast forward to yesterday, I caught him in a lie. Basically, sometimes he Twitch streams himself playing video games. Last night, he invited me to watch, and I noticed this girl commenting. It was all innocent, except she called him Poppy. I was not comfortable with it, so I let him know. He was very kind about it and said he'd make sure it didn't happen again. He even messaged her privately to tell her that he was in a relationship and that was uncomfortable. This girl is not a random girl from across the world, by the way. I know he knows her. They follow each other, and they've had multiple Twitter interactions, etc. So naturally, I asked. Sorry, I lost my space. He said she used to work at his previous workplace. I did some FBI level headed digging, basically found some tweets that make it very clear that's not how they met and that they've at least had one sleepover before. Now the story changed, and he says he met her through gaming, and yes, he slept at her house, but they never hooked up or even kissed. Yada yada. She said, even if it's some small stuff that he's lying on, it really hurts my feelings. I'm not sure what to do. Is this small lie worth breaking up over? How could I trust anything he says ever again? What does that say about me if I let him disrespect this very clear boundary that I have? Sorry for such a long Ask Alyssa. I'm still spiraling.
It's tough. There's a lot of layers to this.
There's a lot.
It doesn't say anything terrible about you to this is the first instance, right? And so you're just like, I care about this person. Let me try to work through this. Life is complicated. People are not perfect. I'm sure every person I've ever dated could go through my phone and honestly find something that's not their favorite thing in the fucking world.
True.
But I think, first of all, tell yourself the sins of the last person is not going to be the sins of this person. I know it's really hard to, because I really cared about a person who lied to me a lot, and he was a pathological liar, and when you find that out, it rocks you to your core, because you tug on the string a little bit and you realize, because this thing was a lie, 15 other things were lies. And it is when your world comes crashing down about a person like that, it is the worst fucking feeling in the world, because you're like, am I an idiot? You don't attribute it to them even at first, that they're a bad person and they're just like this. You're like, why did I not see this? And what does that say about me? So it is hard to let go. But just because the last person was a shitty person and lied to you does not mean this next person is. In terms of this situation, and the first lie, my feeling is if this is the first lie you've caught somebody in, you can still be really stern and you can say, okay, there's a million different details and semantics. It's fine. We can talk about them all. This feels disrespectful to me. That's my boundary. I feel like you're disrespecting me. I think that having this relationship with this person and she feels comfortable calling you Poppy or whatever the fuck, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I'm not calling you a liar. I'm not calling you a cheater. I'm saying it feels disrespectful to me. I don't like it. And I hope I don't ever find something like this out again.
Exactly.
And I don't think you break up with somebody over this unless you want to. If that's your boundary, I think about what is cheating. Cheating is whatever boundary you have. You can, if you think somebody watching porn is cheating.
I was just going to say, people consider porn cheating. I personally don't.
Yeah.
It depends on your boundaries.
Yes. You could talk about what is cheating forever. We're going to do an episode about it. I'm excited about it. Because we couldn't even decide what was cheating. But when I find out you're doing something duplicitous behind my back, it feels really bad. And sometimes it is just as simple as I just want to feel like you respect me, because if you put too many parameters on a person, if you put a very short leash on them, they are going to buck against the leash. So I think you got to give people just enough rope to hang themselves. And then you've had a normal, rational conversation where you've drawn a boundary, and the next time, then the conversation's different.
Yeah, it's we discussed this and we outlined, maybe you have to literally have the conversation of what do you consider cheating or crossing a line, and make sure that you're clear on those same things, because maybe to him watching porn is fine and to you it's not. Or maybe, I don't know, him subscribing to girls' OnlyFans is cheating to you, or vice versa, whatever it may be. You have to kind of figure out what those lines are, because I wouldn't be happy, because what I don't like is that he made it sound like it was nothing, and then it kind of came out that there was a little more of the story, and it seems like he got caught up. he also had a lot to lose because you made it very clear if he lied to you, that was your boundary. So he probably was panicking. It doesn't mean he's like a serial liar.
Yeah.
But you have to know, keep it in the back of your mind. And now for next time, if it happens again, then it's a pattern. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of have to see.
Yeah, I think life is a little messy, and I can see where for him, he's like, I don't know. I don't want to explain this whole thing. This is the nature of our relationship. She, like, calls me these names. I'm not going to fuck her. But I would also open it up to say to another person, let them draw boundaries too and say, how would you feel if this was reversed and you found out that I had lied to you about the nature of this relationship and we're using pet names? So I think it's fine to say to somebody, like, you'll drop the walls a little bit by saying, like, I want to talk to you about, like, my boundary is and, like, I want to hear what yours is. Because maybe you're cool with me doing all these things. I don't think you are. I dare you to tell me you're okay with these things in the reverse. And I don't think anybody would be. So I think that will disarm people a little bit by saying, like, I want to tell you how I feel. I want to know what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like this advice. I think if you feel like calling it quits, that's on you. Like, if that feels best for you. But yeah, I think in this case, my advice would be to just feel it out and give him a second chance. And if it keeps happening, then you have your answer. And then you really need to stick to your guns of, like, this is my boundary. And, like, you set that in place for a reason. So
totally.
If it happens another time, he's done.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much, Raina, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
How could everyone stay up to date? I know you guys have, like, all these businesses, tours, this, that. Tell people everything.
I am Raina.Greenberg on Instagram. You can find Girls Gotta Eat anywhere you listen to podcasts. We have a sex toy company and a connected app with erotic audio that's called Vibes Only. You can find us everywhere at Vibes Only, at the App Store, Instagram, everywhere. And then we are doing a holiday show in New York City at the Apollo Theater on December 15th. We just announced. Tickets go on sale on October. What day is it? October 3rd. So it'll sell out pretty fast. And then we're going to announce, like, a big tour this winter. So I'm excited.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This was so fun.
Yeah.